We can never discount the ability of human innovation, the magic and power of human innovation. But when I think it was called Lensa AI, they started doing amazing portraits of people. And then you have all these other technologies, what it's called synthesis, but you can create an avatar. So there are some people who just don't want to be in front of the camera, but you can type it up and all of a sudden this avatar creates it and they're going to teach the training program. What's going on, everyone? It's Michael Siervo here, and welcome to another episode of Ready, Set, Sell, the greatest sales podcast on the interwebs. My name is Michael Siervo, and I'm here with my co-host, entrepreneur extraordinaire, sales master guru, Mr. Donny Wong.
Sales world, what up?
Donny, this is going to be an interesting conversation because you and I have chatted about this briefly. And really, you know, just to preface this conversation, I came across an old book by Arthur Miller, and it's called Death of a Salesman. And really it talks about this guy who's going through this journey and he's losing himself. He's losing his identity and his mental stability is slowly, he's just losing his mind over time. And again, I love the idea, or I love the topic, the title called Death of a Salesman, because maybe that's a premonition as to what we're going to be talking about. Is there something out there, Donny, that could potentially kill a salesman?
Yeah, it's funny because in my hand holding right here is an article I wrote on July 8th, 2022. And it's labeled, When Will Robots Replace Sales Reps? So it's a discussion I was going to have, and I was going to show you at the time a new software that came out called DALL-E 2, which was a text to image generator. Okay. And what they essentially accomplished was that you could literally text anything into the inquiry box and it would produce that image. Limitless possibilities. And you could literally write in, I want a lizard wearing a fur cat as a hat, riding a horse into a sunset as a disco ball in the style of Basquiat. And within seconds, Crazy. It will print it out. And I remember when it happened, I thought, the quantum leap that AI just took and the ability of creativity, even though it's assisted by us, that's when I really thought, holy cow, can we be replaced? And that's where I was going to have a talk with you. But it turns out on November 30th, the same company released a new software called ChatGPT.
Wow. And we're going to talk about ChatGPT because you introduced me to it and it's changed my world. And we'll talk about how it's implemented. We've implemented that in our practice, in our sales world, and in just how we communicate in general. But folks, if you're not familiar with the artificial intelligence, first of all, you might be living underneath a rock because you should know this, because this is technology that's going to impact all of us. And really, the definition, I'm just going to read this out here, guys. Artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and learn like humans. AI can be divided into two main categories: narrow or weak AI, which is designed to perform a specific task, and general or strong AI, which has the ability to perform any intellectual task that a human can. So that's self-driving cars, that's speech recognition, that's imaging recognition as well. And then, you know, if you really simplify this, AI is like a robot brain, and it's a way for machines to think and learn on their own. And in fact, do this without a human operator. And it's like giving your toaster or, you know, your, microwave, the ability to think and feel and do all that stuff and do complex tasks, and essentially take over the world, maybe.
And what's cool about that is because previous to this year, AI to us has always been the Internet of Things, right? Like it may be able to detect if my groceries are low, give me a warning or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them may be Wi-Fi enabled, Bluetooth enabled, tell me when my toast is ready. Terrible idea, but it's there. Yeah. Are you aware of something called a Turing test?
Of course, yeah. I've heard of Alan Turing.
Alan Turing, who invented the test of can humans decipher if they're speaking to a human or a computer. And previous to November 29th, 2022, that bar was pretty low, where we always know when we're talking to a computer. Right. Google had a pretty good one that they're demoing earlier in the year, but now ChatGPT has completely shattered those limits.
Yeah, so it's a completely different game. And I remember when chatbots first came out. First of all, I initially thought that it was annoying, right? You go on a website and all of a sudden your chatbot comes on, you try to answer questions and it has to be very specific, worded in a certain way for you to have a meaningful conversation. Now that artificial intelligence has come so far that it actually feels like you're talking, it's very difficult to discern, to decipher whether or not it is a human or robots. So going back to your point, we've come a long way.
We've come a long way. Not only that, they closed the gap so fast. Where before, Siri's kind of hard to use. Google's still good. It still operates well if you understand the ecosystem. But ultimately, you're talking to a computer. ChatGPT has shadowed that. Where in the fact where now when we're typing in inquiries, they can spit back out any form of text in any style. And it's almost near impossible to decipher. They can actually have a great conversation with you. And that's actually one of the industries that have spawned up is now they have, what are they called? Dating apps where the digital girlfriend talks to you through an AI.
Wow.
And it's apparently blown up this new app. It's like $150 per month.
That's crazy. And that was the biggest knock on AI is that it's cold. Machines are cold. There's no empathy. And they don't have this ability to, have emotion. Now you're starting to see AI write articles, with empathy. Write this article, write this description with empathy, or write it with humor, or write it in a certain particular style. It's been able to. There's enough knowledge essentially that's there that it can actually create or mimic. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it can actually feel. Who knows? Maybe it can. Maybe it's sentient. I want to stay on the good side of robots right now, but I don't know. But it surely sounds like it.
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords. But to add to that, what I would say also is for those who are just new to the ChatGPT technology, it's not just the fact that it's a chatbot. It can actually write anything. It can write novels. It can write scripts. It can write screenplays. It can write contracts. I saw a live demonstration where somebody said he was writing a rental lease for a property. He said, ChatGPT, write me a 12-month rental lease in the state of Alabama, and I wanted to renew automatically every 8 months. And what it did is it don't only just wrote the lease, it pulled up all of the local laws to build this contract. And one step further, it can now code as well. For the nerds out there, sure, it's not exactly 100%, but again, it's all about the gap that is completely covered now.
Yeah, it's that you can see the futures is taking place. And if you rewind or go back, I don't know, a few decades ago, on Star Trek, Data, for instance, everyone would reference Data because he's smart. He has, he's an android, and we're starting to see that. I remember that episode when he went on trial to see whether or not he's human or he's sentient, and he did. Right, he had emotions and feelings. There's I can't remember her name. I think it's called Sophie. Sophie is the first android that has rights as a citizen in Dubai, I believe.
Yeah, I think Will Smith interviewed her.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts when you take a look at just how far technology has moved, and it's rapidly increasing. Of course, with Moore's law, how technology doubles every 18 months or something along those lines. So we're getting to that point when we will likely have singularity. And I'm not saying that we are I don't know enough about this stuff. I know enough that we would be remiss if we didn't pay attention to it.
Absolutely. And at this point, it's almost impossible to ignore it because ChatGPT not just making waves. Once it came out, everyone's been using it, from professors to screenplays to again programmers, just to day-to-day, and the results have been astounding. So much so that within the first 2 weeks, Microsoft was already rumored at investing $10 billion into ChatGPT, 10 times more into its already $1 billion investment, and they want to roll it into the Microsoft Office suite and get it into the Bing so they can compete with Google directly. That's
crazy because the ChatGPT is what we're talking about right now, but that's one of many different artificial intelligence platforms. I was about to say species for a second. I said artificial intelligence. Species.
Somebody's bought in.
I know, but that's one of the many out there. And in fact, I got some statistics out there, and according to a stat by Salesforce, 71% of businesses reported using AI in some form, with the most popular applications being sales forecasting, which is about 45%, lead scoring 42%, customer segmentation. A lot of the time, if essentially artificial intelligence is just using machine learning, big data, and taking all of that data and doing rapid calculations to optimize whoever is utilizing that information. And I think for purposes of today's call or today's conversation is how can artificial intelligence replace us as salespeople, or maybe complement us, or maybe we become cyborgs by the end of this. There's a couple of other statistics here, and it says here that there was a survey of sales professionals and it found that AI-powered sales tools are expected to increase productivity by 14.6% and sales by 15%. At the time of this podcast, we are likely in a recession. Imagine if we have increased our sales by 15% when the rest of the economy is going down. It's fantastic. It's incredible. What are your thoughts actually, just on artificial intelligence in general, but in general to our industry in terms of sales?
Yeah, this is actually something that, believe it or not, I've been excited about, extremely excited about, because when I came from door-to-door sales, our largest use of resources was the agent attrition. Door-to-door sales, it's a very hard gig. So it's a very high turnover rate. So for me as a sales trainer, to always fill in that pipeline, almost used about 80% of the resources. So I always said to myself, why don't we just replace them with robots?
Right.
Sorry, sales guys, I love you guys, but heck, as a business owner, I would love an army of robots. And so my quest to find a way to replace sales with robots began about 10, 15 years ago. I thought it would always be with funnels, right? Where we can just direct them through, and the AI and the websites and the software and the apps that are layered on top of these ecosystems, they would conduct the sale. Mm-hmm. But what's happened with ChatGPT is that they can almost replace an operator because of how human the conversation has become. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think what's going to happen here is, for the first time ever, not only will AI be really tough to decipher, especially if it's through text, extremely hard to decipher, or sorry, not decipher, but to see through, decipher if it's a human or a robot, but it's going to give the common man AI abilities where we might be able to replace an entire call center. What if we can just feed an AI hundreds of our phone calls, and it will just learn exactly our phone calls, and therefore it will build us an entire call center.
And I think that's great for, of course, the entrepreneur, the guy who wants to streamline everything. But there's the other side of the equation where people are worried that, of course, this is not entirely a good thing for some people. Mm-hmm. And the obvious one is, I guess, domino effect is the loss of jobs. Right. And that's huge, right? Because that's essentially, we're here to try to create jobs for people. Mm-hmm. I would argue that jobs are going to be replaced by any technology, whether it was artificial intelligence or something else. The typewriter was replaced by the computer. The horseless carriage the carriage was replaced by the horseless carriage, which was a car. And I think it is natural. It's a natural evolution of, technology or business in general. And I think it really puts an onus on the shoulders of the salesperson to make sure that there are skill sets that can't be replaced. I think we're asking the wrong question sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe because of a little bit of arrogance, because before the argument was always that, you know what, the computers can do that, but they'll never beat human creativity. Yes. And then in comes DALL-E 2, and it's like, wow, not only can they do it, they can do it faster than us in milliseconds. They can imitate art that's already in existence, and they can make music now. Yeah. So you can bet copying a sales pitch and repeating that over 15 different parameters, I think they're going to crack that pretty quick here.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you start going back to that whole thing about creativity, because that's really what humans have is we can never discount the ability of human innovation, the magic and power of human innovation. But when I think it was called Lensa AI, they started doing amazing portraits of people. And it was fantastic. It's amazing, right? And then you have all these other technologies. What it's called, synthesis, or I think it's called synthesis or something like that. But you can create an avatar. So there are some people who just don't want to be in front of the camera, but you can type it up, and all of a sudden this avatar creates it. Create me an avatar of a female with blonde hair, between the ages of 35 to 40, and they're going to teach the training program. It's insane. Like the fact that we're starting to see that.
Quick segue. I just realized that our thumbnail should just be our normal thumbnail, but AI versions of us.
That would be amazing.
Give the camera something to look at. Oh wait, it's a middle camera. There, that's the thumbnail.
But it's nuts, the fact that we're going that fast. So I guess the question we're going to have here is, do you think AI is a good thing for sales people specifically? Is AI a good thing or a bad thing? And let's have a meaningful discussion on that. So what are your thoughts, Donny?
You know what? if we flip the script, why I think it can really help salespeople is because it can give you a real world environment of training now. Previous, we were doing a lot of role play, right? Where you sit in front of an agent, you know, your peer, you sit, he's going to throw objections at you and you're going to go role play.
Right.
But now, what if we plug them into an AI customer? And now you're actually in almost like, what's that called in Star Trek, the holodeck?
Yeah.
Or the X-Men are in the danger room.
Yeah, danger room.
But it's the danger room for salespeople. And there's just objections going back at you and you got to nail it down perfectly, because the AI can now also probably, if you're given enough training, understand the inflections, the tonality, understand where you are in the sale, understand if you have knocked off their beliefs and their fears and overcome their beliefs and fears in order to get to the finish line. I think they can really accelerate and refine sales training at a very high level.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, because one of the great things about sales training is the ability to collect data, right? And you can role play, but how do you actually quantify whether or not you're getting good or better, or there are certain areas where you fumbled? With AI, it's tracking everything.
Yeah.
And I think rather than us being so scared of it and talking about how it's going to replace our jobs or replace us as salespeople, I think the question should be, what are the tasks that AI can replace? And those are the ones, like, you know, simple things, the mundane tasks that allow us to focus on other things that are more meaningful. But I do like that. What else? What else do you see us utilizing?
Utilizing AI in terms of sales, I think, especially for the help desk, for those frequently asked questions, it's really going to help that. And more importantly, I think it's going to help bridge the gap for maybe seniors who maybe aren't very good with technology. They don't understand how to use different platforms or different hardware. This might be that bridge where now they can either just go straight. We can send you an app, send you a link, you click it, and now this AI bot gives you back the humanity that was lost from our previous technologies.
I mean, we could go down a completely different road. I was thinking about, imagine if you're able to record your voice. Of course, right now we're recording our voices, but imagine someone recorded their voice. There's enough video of that person, and you can create an avatar of a loved one that passed away. And now you can have a meaningful conversation where they're always going to be alive. You know that it's not that person, right? Kind of like, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I was just going to talk about The Boys, right? And in season 2, how, you know, Homelander is talking to almost an avatar of Miss Stillwell.
Right.
It wasn't really her, but, you know, if you lost a loved one, how do you replace that memory?
Right.
I think AI can totally do that. So this is going back to the role playing or mock role playing. But I think on a functional, technical aspect of it, or how it can be used as a tool, it can also be used for, again, predictive analytics.
Right.
And gathering as much data. Because one of the things as salespeople, I find that, we have a list, run list, and we just cold call. And if you're like me, sometimes your day's here, sometimes your day's there. I'm gonna call the easiest call to build up some momentum. I don't know how it's gonna work out. What AI can likely do is it'll tell you, here's what's currently happening in the world. This is the person that you should call. Or if X happens, your client Y will behave this way. And we can't move that fast. We can't predict that quickly. We don't know who's going to call. Like if you have 500 clients, which ones are the right ones to call? So I think AI is going to allow us to prioritize our clients, giving them a higher overall, client-centric experience.
Yeah, you definitely got a point there. Let me throw this one at you. Who do you think is getting wiped out? Like right away, once this gets put in, they're out of a job.
Yeah, I would say probably the physical labor that doesn't take a lot of thinking. Now, I'm not saying that physical labor in general can be replaced, but the ones that are, okay, let me just think for a second. I think that I could imagine moving forward fast food.
How so?
I could absolutely imagine fast food where you can order it, because it's already, McDonald's did such a great job of creating systems and processes that if you had a burger here and a burger in the next city, it's the same taste and feel.
Yeah, right.
But because they have that and now it could be replicated by a robot, I could see things like that being replaced. However, if we're staying true to the food industry, gourmet food and high, really high-end food, I don't think could be replaced, because there's an art behind it. I don't know if a robot can taste certain things just yet. And a really good chef can taste and put flavors together. So until they're able to do that, I could see there's going to be a drastic change in the service industry, in the food service industry, and that high-end chef who has who turns food into art. That chef can charge a premium product, and fast food will hopefully ultimately come cheaper.
You know, as you're talking, you just gave me a great idea. You know who can get replaced? More than likely is the person working the drive-through window.
Yeah.
Now we can literally replace with an AI. It's already built into the drive-through menu. They'll get it right. They'll be perfectly happy, joyful to meet you in the morning. You'll get your food on the way out. Where it could really help expand productivity is, like you said, for fine restaurants. When you're calling a reservation, you don't need somebody picking up anymore.
Right.
Because that same AI bot can now not just greet you, but you can't tell the difference. They can really still bring forth the experience, set the tone for the experience, get your reservation in, and then after that's all automated. So one that's going to disappear and one that's going to amplify productivity.
Yeah, I completely agree with you when it comes to that. You can really elevate the overall client service experience. An AI could get to know you. Let's say, for instance, you book something at a hotel. Automatically, it knows who you are. It says, welcome, Mr. So-and-so. It puts the temperature of the room, the right temperature in which you like to sleep at. It memorizes certain things.
Doesn't your Tesla already do that?
Yeah, he does. Just does do that. It preheats. Like, think about it. And that's a form of AI. The Tesla knows exactly when I go to work. So it preconditions the cabin, exactly how I like to drive. And then once it recognizes my key fob, it adjusts the seat accordingly. Like, it really customizes it. And you could feel it. You sit in there and all of a sudden it squeezes your lumbar support.
Wow.
You can see the temperature go up, and it's optimized. And in fact, it will calculate the destination without me doing anything. So let's say, for instance, it knows that you're going to the office every single day. All of a sudden, it's already in your GPS.
Wow.
Yeah, automatically. So it knows that just based off of my key fob, at this time, this is likely where I'm going. And you don't even need to type it in. It says here, navigating to work.
Let me throw this at you. What device do you think will eventually get AI that we never thought we needed, that's going to be an ultimate game changer? Like an AI razor or like something. What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know, man. That's a really tough one, right? Because I can't see an industry where AI is not utilized. And it's the level of how much security and how much willingness we're allowing to relinquish. It's ultimately up to us as human beings to say, okay, what makes me human? What keeps me human? I want to preserve that. And what can I outsource to like a robot? I see there's a lot of huge value in robotics and artificial intelligence. Dangerous jobs, for instance, firefighters. I mean, if there's a way that you can save human life, minimize the loss of human life, then AI could absolutely do that. Now, I'm not saying I can imagine a world where we have robots policing us. That is quite scary. But you can see hand in hand where a human and a robot can absolutely work together. Because there are certain situations where, the robot is, if X happens, I have to do this.
Right.
There's no... It's very difficult to judge, whereas a human can feel empathy and say, okay, I'm not going to kill this kid because this kid was stealing a piece of bread to feed his sick family. Like, there are ways. A robot, all he knows, that bread was stolen. I got to, reprimand this kid for whatever it might be. But I could see both the human side of things, making that quick decision. And I think the robot has to have that kill switch. So they have to have an override switch where they can say this is what I absolutely need to do, versus a robot ultimately making that decision. And I think that's where it's a bit of a challenge, where we give robots so much power in whether or not it could save a life. And driving a Tesla on autopilot is a great example. Like, literally, you're driving a 1-ton vehicle at 120 kilometers an hour on a road.
Whisper silent, by the way,
Whisper silent. If that smashes it, like, that is ultimate trust that brake is going to work, or it's going to stay within its lane, or it's going to calculate that glare of sun off of a truck isn't just a glare of sun. There's actually a truck in front of us, right? And stuff like that. So I think as humans, we need to determine how much are we willing to relinquish, and how much do we need to save ourselves a little bit more time and become a much more efficient society.
Yeah, definitely. These kind of conversations, the philosophical conversations, the questions of morality, I think we're going to be faced with in the future. Our children will be faced with the question as, will you chip your kid? Right. That's going to be the next, and that last frontier where we completely merge. But for now, why ChatGPT is so important is because it's given us superpower AI abilities to the general consumer. So for y'all who haven't checked it out yet, go to openai.com or even just Google ChatGPT and you can use it for yourself. Ask it anything. I used it actually a few shows ago. I just simply typed it and said, write me a podcast introduction. I believe it was about charisma.
Yeah, right.
This thing spit it out within seconds. And if you guys are watching on the audio, try and pick out which episode it is. It might be charisma, might be not. And see if you can catch out which one was written by an AI. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you saw the one episode where I'm not looking at the camera, it's because I'm reading off the AI that just printed it out for me. Some last stats for you guys, for you too, Michael. Why especially this has been so tremendous, because one of the ways that we measure how impactful an app or software will be is the rate of adoption. And so for instance, Netflix and its rate of adoption to 1 million users, kind of the 0 to 60 for software.
Right.
Netflix took 3 years, 5 months to get to 1 million users. Facebook, 10 months to get to their million. Spotify, 5 months. Instagram only took 2.5 months. Guess how long it took ChatGPT to get to 1 million?
No clue.
Less than a week.
Wow.
So it's coming. It's here to stay. And I would hate to be anyone named John Connor.
That's true. Well, just that statistic alone just tells us that there is humans and society is a lot more welcoming. Right. We've been conditioned by the movies that we watch, and it's not as scary as it once was. You and I had this conversation, and what I think is going to happen, like going back to the original question, will it replace us?
Right.
My answer would be yes and no. It will replace us for certain things. And the fact that you and I have our voice recorded on the internet, in the cloud, AI can mimic. If there's enough minutes of our voice and our intonation and our style of speaking, there's enough of that, you can copy that. You can copy the way we speak. Then on top of that, with video, deep fake, all of that comes together. Now that's so scary that we can create an avatar and someone could deep fake us. And then, they did that with Joe Rogan and him creating basketball team of monkeys, right? Or chimpanzees.
I haven't seen that.
It's insane. It sounds exactly like Joe Rogan in the exact same way he would speak about how he would love to have a basketball team with chimpanzees.
I can't wait to watch that.
It's fantastic.
I cannot wait. To throw one more point at you, when you said about giving it enough of our voice data, ChatGPT's parent company OpenAI just recently, I believe it was a week ago, released their newest software called Volley, where they can now literally take only just 60 seconds of a soundbite and they can recreate your entire vocal pattern.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And so how do we determine whether or not that's really us? That's an ethical thing. And that's far beyond the scope of this conversation. But where I see is all of us as salespeople will have our digital avatar out there. And it's like we're going to be cloning ourselves. And if we need to have if you want to see the real person, if you want to shake, Donny Wong's hand in person, that's going to cost you.
Yeah.
That's where the salesperson can be like, I'm going to give you the human touch. But if you just want me to teach you something, absolutely. Or if you want me to do a training course, easy, we can do it. It still looks and sounds exactly the way I would do it. But what it's done is it's allowed the salesperson to focus their energy on the human relationship. And at the end of the day, maybe you can have a relationship with a robot. Maybe you can't. We saw this in Ex Machina, the movie. The guy falls in love. The robot utilized his emotions, and all of a sudden you see her walking away and the guy's stuck in a room, a bulletproof room to starve to death. And she has zero empathy and zero emotion. That stuff is scary.
Yeah, it's scary. And if sci-fi movies are correct, that kill switch always comes down to when they grab the little remote out of the scientist's hands and crush it with their claw, or it's always located on the back of their chip, the kill switch. That's right. And that's the moment we lose the battle.
That's right. But till then, Donny, we can absolutely become one with artificial intelligence. I personally think there's a lot more good than bad that comes out of it. I think we should be approaching it more so opportunistically versus fearful, because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think fearfulness, then all of a sudden you're going to be that last typewriter salesman.
Damn right. Death of a salesman.
Absolutely. With that said, guys, what do you think about this podcast? What do you think about artificial intelligence? How are you utilizing in your practice? Are you scared of it? Do you like it? Leave a comment. And if you like this podcast, please share. Please like it. Donny and I are trying to create this fantastic community to help you guys become better salespeople. But till then, get ready, set, and sell.
See you next week.
Take care, guys.